Alrighty, welcome to another episode of Rooting for Laundry. I am your host, Johnny McDonald. You can follow us at Root for Laundry on IG and Twitter, as it says on the ticker right there, and like, share, subscribe videos. It'll be dope to come see what we're doing. We're having some fun talking about old memories of sports and stuff. Today is episode number 34. We're covering the Charlotte Hornets, which is dope because Charlotte Hornets they always been a team with cool uniforms and colors and they had some success. And today we got a diehard Charlotte Hornet fan. He is the host of the podcast, The Black Guy Who Tips. So if you listen to it, thanks for joining us and bring him on. Give it up for our guest, Rod Morrow. Rod, what's
Hey,
up, man?
hey, man! Thanks for having me, Johnny. I appreciate you.
Oh, thanks for being had, man. We appreciate it, man. So I know, Rod, you were born and raised in Charlotte, so I guess it's rite of passage for you to be root for the hometown team. But when did that Charlotte Hornet fandom kick in for you?
1988, man. As soon as we got him, I'm born and raised in Charlotte, so for me, it was like the dream came true. Big NBA. I never really thought we would get a team, and like as soon as they showed up, it was like I couldn't believe it as a kid that grew up loving basketball.
Now, who was your team before that? Prior to, did you even? I mean, I know you were a kid, so you probably didn't follow it. Didn't have a allegiance to a team, but
Yeah, I didn't really have a lot of teams necessarily. I definitely was rooting for Jordan because
absolutely.
I'm not mistaken, I want to say I grew up at that time. I think we had WGN, which was
yeah, Chicago. It was a Chicago station, so they broadcast all the Chicago sports teams.
yeah, it was almost unfair, really, when you think about it. But I grew up watching Jordan's WGN games, and then that just made me a Jordan fan. And then he just happened to come to prominence during that time, and I actually ended up hating a lot of teams that I really had no reason to hate, but I hated the Pistons, I hated the Celtics coming up. So yeah, that was basically I would say I was a Jordan fan more than I was a team fan.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a lot. I mean, a lot of people root for players now with LeBron and Steph Curry. As soon as as soon as every team LeBron votes you, people will hop on. And I get it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, LeBron's a one of a kind player. So yeah, I get that part. So I definitely understand that. So when the Hornets first came to existence, first, like you said, 1988, you were ecstatic. One of the things that stand out to me are the uniforms and the color at the time where hip hop fashion was coming alive. So were you attracted right then and there by the colors, the teal and purple, and how it like became like I guess a cultural phenomenon, especially in hip hop, when sports fashion and a lot of expansion teams were expanding into all the sports, like Charlotte and Miami came in at the same time. The year after, Orlando, Minnesota, and NBA, and then baseball was getting new teams, and NHL were getting new teams. So hip hop fashion kind of like was part of like pro sports, like the merch was going up, and it was a good time to expand teams then. So how did you feel about the color scheme and how like everybody was kind of a Charlotte Hornets? I wouldn't say a fan, but they just loved the colors.
I mean, definitely the colors coming right in were dope. I think that first draft we even got like J.R. Reed out of North Carolina, so
Mm-hmm.
really excited about that. And we already were a basketball hotbed as a state because you had the Carolina Tar Heels, the Wolfpack,
Mm-hmm.
and Duke Blue Devils. So it was nothing but enthusiasm, really. I know we led the league in attendance for
Yeah.
a long ass time because we were just excited and ravenous for basketball of any form. And even though we weren't necessarily competitive right away, we were just happy to even get to see like the stars of the league come to our home state.
Yeah, not to mention the Charlotte Coliseum at the time was just built, and it was like they said it was the biggest arena at the NBA at the time. So it's sat over 20,000, like 21,000, whatever. It was a big deal. So I guess that's the reason, like for the sellouts, that was great.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then I remember my first memory of the Hornets, the players like Muggsy, Del Curry, Rex Chapman, Kelly Tripucka like that first season. But I think the corner was turning around 1991, where the draft you drafted Larry Johnson, first overall pick, and then the next year after, number 2 pick was Alonzo Mourning. So those are like your first 2 real, like, almost superstars. So how did you feel like during that era with LJ and Zoe? Well, Grandmama at the time, because he was getting all the endorsement deals too. How did you feel with that team? And Kendall Gill was a big part of it too.
Yeah, so Larry was a star right away. Coming out of UNLV, probably in my opinion, the most dominant college team I've ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah.
That was such a ridiculous season that they put together. Greg Anthony, Stacey Ogden.
Oh man.
So yeah, getting him was huge here. He also had charisma and personality, the gap tooth.
Yeah.
Explosive dunks. The commercial for Grandmama, like that was personality they were adding to it. So it felt like we got our first actual star.
Yeah.
That year, because I think, having like Muggsy on the team was different. It was almost like for kids. It was kind of like cute.
Yeah, underdog. Yeah.
Yeah, but having Zoe on the team and having LJ on the team made us feel like, wait a minute, we might have a young nucleus that can make some noise.
That's so true. And then they ended up going to the playoffs. Zoe's rookie season, 1993, under Alan Bristow, and they actually beat first round. They beat Boston 3-1 in best of 5, and then they lose to the Knicks in 5 games. So talk about, I guess, that first playoff experience as a Hornets fan.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, that's the one where Zoe hit the game-winning jumper.
Yep.
Laid on the ground with his hands up.
Yeah, that was a big deal. Yeah.
I mean, that was huge, man. Because I mean, like I told you earlier, I grew up hating the Celtics. So, it was kind of, even though they were kind of on their last legs, they still were the favorite in that series. And, it was like the Celtics going to do what the Celtics do. They're going to beat this young upstart team. And I want to say that's back when first round series went 5 games.
5 games, yeah.
So beating them in that fashion was so dramatic, and we just loved it. But we knew, like, we gonna lose. Like the next, it's over after this. But at that time, it just felt like world beaters, and like this was the start of a legacy of just keeping this nucleus together and going back to the playoffs over and over and hoping to get a little better every time.
Yeah, and then 2 years later, 1995, they go back to the playoffs. And the same core of players. The only change was Kendall Gill was out. Hershey Hawkins was the starting 2 guard. And then they played Chicago in the first round with a returning Michael Jordan. So Michael Jordan's like almost 2 months back into the league, after, retiring, for the first time, death of his dad, playing baseball, all that stuff. And then he comes back. So talk about, I guess, going 1-on-1 against Michael Jordan and that Bulls team. It lost.
That was like the return of Michael Jordan just flipped everything, because when Jordan was out, it felt like the league was kind of wide open.
Yeah, it really was. Yep.
And then when he came back, there was a little rust on him, but not enough where the flashes of Mike. Like he dropped that double nickel.
Yeah.
And that's when the Knicks were actually good.
That was fun times. Yeah.
So it was like, yo, if he pull off any of these antics against us, we're going down. And so, like losing to the Bulls, it just sucked the wind out of the team, and the fan base a little bit, because it was like, man, maybe we can make some noise. Oh wait, it's Mike. That's not fair. That's I know
if Mike didn't come back, probably a different story. Yeah,
man, that messed up everything, dude. He was out there like. I want to say after that season, like it was like we need to trade everybody. It's over. Let's start looking at who else we can bring in.
And I also remember that it was a legendary picture of Jordan wearing the 4-5 and Muggsy's guarding him. it's just like no, just like you can't do nothing about it. But
and like I want to say after that, it was like we got Glenn Rice or something. Like it was so like.
After that season.
Like what we have, we know for a fact is not going to even come close to the Bulls. So we got to do something now.
Yeah, so that was a big deal because, like, the start of that 95, 96 team, they trade Zoe for Glenn Rice and a bunch of other, it was a big trade, like I think an 8-player deal. How did you feel like that? Because there was always rumors that Zoe and LJ didn't have the best relationship in Charlotte.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wanted to see Lonzo or LJ go because they were
Hmm.
so synonymous with Charlotte. Like we drafted them, they came to prominence here. They were legitimate stars. You play NBA Jam, they're the two.
Yeah.
So you never want to give up your NBA Jam level stars, and that's exactly what happened. And this was before we realized this was going to be a trend, but essentially George Shen did not want to pay top level money to retain players. And so this was one of those things where at the time we thought, okay, we're getting rid of Zoe, bringing in Glenn Rice. And it's because I remember people being like, Zoe's a crybaby. He won't just come play for us, like da da da. So it was like, well, Glenn Rice is good. We'll still have some firepower. We'll still, LJ and Glenn Rice will make a good combo. And now years later, we look back and go, oh, this was the beginning of the end. Because if you won't keep, a top, I would say at the time, top 2 or 3 center, maybe top 5. If you wouldn't pay money to keep a top 5 center on your team in that era of the NBA when centers were important, then what were you really going to ever pay somebody to do?
Yeah, shout out to Neil Charles, by the way, the homie. The Hornets were good in NBA Jam. What I do remember, though, is Larry Johnson got a huge contract after,
and that was after his back was messed up, too.
Mm-hmm. I remember that was.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yo, that was like the beginning of the end because I remember he had that. I think it was 12 years, 84 million, and he was like, at the peak of his popularity. So I kind of get that he was the highest paid at one point. That was a lot of money to give somebody, especially at that time. Remember, there wasn't any rookie contracts at that time. They were just, if you were coming in straight out of college, you could demand a lot of money as a number 1 pick because, like, all right, you want me to turn your franchise around or not? So I think that was a problem.
It was one of them long ass contracts too, because that was it sounds like, oh my God, the most ever, but that's back when the NBA would be like the most ever over 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Like the most ever over 12 years. Scottie Pippen got in one of those long contracts. And so by the end of it, he's completely underpaid. But at the beginning, it was like, yo, they signed this dude for 12 years, 84 million. He about to.
Yeah, now that money is like that's common now. But so that year they traded Zoe for Glenn Rice. They didn't have that great of a season. And in the summer of '90, they traded LJ for Mason. So now you have a whole new regime under Dave Cowens. You have Mason, Rice, and it's a pretty good team. It's a good team. They actually win 54 games, which is the best in Hornets franchise history. And then they got up against the Knicks at the time, 97, and they got swept 3-0 in the best of 5. So talk about, I guess, the change of, like, did you embrace the new players right away with Mace and Rice and those guys?
So Glenn Rice, people loved here. People still love Glenn Rice. Anthony Mason and Derek Coleman, Kenny Anderson, they were the start of something that I think a lot of people don't remember this era of the NBA where people started souring on the league and they started souring on the style of play. And those guys are bruiser, defensive type of guys, and they also get in trouble off the court, Mason, Coleman, and Anderson. And so in Charlotte, people started souring not just on the local talent, but the NBA, it's a league of thugs. We don't like.
Yeah, I remember that. And there was no. I think that's what implemented the dress code because they didn't want to see those guys wearing all types of stuff.
Well, the dress code came really with Iverson. So it was.
Yeah, Iverson. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It was before the dress code, but it was still this very they're thugs mentality. Like these are not basketball players. These are thugs. And I never really. I of course I wasn't one of those people. I'm black.
Yeah, shout out to LeBron, by the way.
I wasn't one of those people. I'm black, so of course.
Of course. Yeah.
I wasn't like thugs. I
Yeah,
But I do remember I worked at IHOP at the time, and Anthony Mason came into IHOP. Rest in peace.
Nice. Yeah.
Came into IHOP, and I just remember he was loud as hell, and he was cussing, and he asked, us, he asked, did we have any alcohol to put in the orange juice?
He wanted his own mimosa.
Right. I'm like, I don't sell alcohol, man. Like, y'all can't put no vodka. He was like, y'all can't put no vodka in this shit. I was like, oh
wow. That's hilarious. Yeah. Mace, it's funny because Mace is from my neck of the woods in Queens. So it's like, yeah, we would see him at the barbershop and it was just sort of, yeah. So it's like we both have interactions with Mace.
So like that era, man, it was kind of like we were winning, but it was ugly wins. It was not, you weren't making the highlight reels anymore. You don't have the charisma of LJ because none of those guys were stars.
Yeah. So they were like kind of like afterthought. I mean, they were, not in their prime again. I wouldn't say a little on the decline, but they bounced around already.
And it wasn't like, you coming from Zoe and LJ. Like LJ got cartoons drawn at him. Yep. Like it was a wholly different type of basketball. Yeah. And that's
Neil hit it on the head too. Yeah, that Hornets starter jacket was legendary.
You know what it is. And they definitely started hating on those guys. And so it was kind of interesting that year because I want to say that was around the time where people started kind of souring on George Shen. Like, oh, let these guys go. You brought in these thugs because you got a discount on these players because they have off the court trouble.
Yeah.
So that's why you put this team together. So I remember that era not that fondly, but of course, as a kid that cut his hair off at like 15, Glenn Rice is my favorite player. So
yeah,
like to me, I was like, the dude got the coldest jumper in the league, and like I love having this guy on the team. But a lot of people,
he was great. That's when he became an all-star too.
Yep. I love that dude, man. To this day, a beast. He was a beast.
Yep. So that team, the year after they win 51 games, so it's a back-to-back 51 season, and then I'll fast forward 2 years later, 99, 2000. Paul Silas is out the head coach, and then they trade Glenn Rice for Eddie Jones the year before. So now you got a kind of a young guy in Eddie Jones. And quick, I'll rewind back to I guess the 96 draft. How did you feel about because Divox was a part of that team too. So how did you feel about Kobe, even though we didn't know where Kobe was at the time? How did you feel about that trade? Because Kobe wasn't going to come to Charlotte anyway. But how did you feel about that?
Yeah, so this was before people really understood high school drafts. And it wasn't like it is now where like even if a guy comes from overseas, we got a bunch of tape on him and stuff. This is just like people going, why the hell did we draft a high school kid? That was I remember that sentiment. And then when we got Divock, people were happy here.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, we got somebody who can contribute right away. The rumor was Kobe didn't want to play for us. So it was like, man, fuck him. We got a starting all-star center for Divock. No one thought to themselves, now why the hell would Jerry West, a man who never makes a bad trade, why the hell would he give up Divock for this kid? No one thought that. Not in Charlotte. And to our regret, years later, you look up and it's like, this dude is the second best shooting guard of all time.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, we didn't know. So, but like you said, like Kobe wasn't coming to, he was only focused on LA and probably wasn't coming to Charlotte anyway. So, I'll get back to 2000. Glenn. So since you were a big Glenn Rice, how did you feel about that trade, Eddie Jones, in 99?
That was it was, once again, it was kind of like, it was time for Glenn to start getting paid. And it was like, nah, that was kind of what we were starting to be, the team where it's like, but you make your name here. And when it's time to cash in on making your name here, we start thinking about getting you up out of here. And so I for the record, I loved Eddie Jones' game. Yeah. Loved Campbell. It was really telling because if you think about that as a chess move, them giving us Divock so they could keep Kobe made it so that they had to give up Eddie Jones somewhere.
Yeah, they definitely did.
Eddie was ahead of Kobe. And so
Absolutely.
I love smooth Eddie Jones, man. And I loved Eldon Campbell. I think we also got him in that trade.
Yeah. And he
Like
was
this,
great. He was a great contributor for those
yeah,
years.
this is around the time that we got it was like PJ Brown, Eldon Campbell was like our
Campbell,
big
yep. Uh-huh. Yeah, because
so
Campbell, I think, was a center. I think he was playing power forward for the most part with the Lakers.
right. So that was like a really, to me, I like that roster as well. That was still a good team.
Hmm. So also you had David Wesley and Bobby Phills, and on January 12th, 2000, Bobby Phills dies in a car. Him and David Wesley were racing their Porsches, and Phills lost control and yeah, crashed. Talk about, I guess, when you first heard the news about Bobby Phills passing.
Man, that was such a crazy story, man, because I knew David Wesley a bit because we actually played ball at the Harris YMCA.
Oh wow.
He would come in there like during the off season, probably 4 or 5 times a week, and
Nice.
you kind of get to know people from basketball. We wasn't tight or nothing. I wasn't like,
Yeah.
there were some people that was like kind of, weirdly on some like, can I go home with you type of niggas? But
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Of course, yeah, they try to come up, yeah.
Yeah, like I just would see him in there, play ball, talk a little bit of junk to him, vice versa, get on the sidelines, talk a little. So around that time, man, I just remember like it was sad because it was so tragic, and then him being implicated in it was like people like almost blaming him.
Blame
like,
him, yeah, I could see that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I know that little strip where it happened and everything. It's like, rich dudes coming home from practice, playing around in their cars, and that happens, and it's just super sad. But it once again, man, you have to look at it too. Like this was the culmination of a lot of ill will because this was when our Hornets were actually the most successful. But this was also when the public support for the Hornets started falling off bad. George Shinn wanted a new arena.
Yeah, I remember that. And the arena wasn't even that old.
Right. Like it got so ugly. And this was just another mark on them saying, look at these thugs. You see what I'm saying? Because like racing your cars is not thug shit. It's it's like rich dude
people.
Like, but it's not like, like man, thugs, and it's not Fast and Furious, but that's how they treated it, man. So like that was like to me the death knell for like when the Charlotte Hornet fan base was actually over the Hornets and was done showing up the games and stuff.
Yeah, because after that, I mean that 2000 season they lose in the first round of Philly, and then the next 2 seasons they make the playoffs, and for the most part, and that's like the ending of the the Charlotte Hornets leaving, but the bright spot is you get another like close all-star player in Baron Davis. So talk about, I guess, the little bit of time you spent with like Baron Davis and the Hornets in Charlotte at least.
B Dizzle, which is his real nickname, not B Diddy, which everyone calls
Diddy.
B Dizzle, that's my favorite Hornet ever, dude. Period. Coolest dude, super explosive, so talented. Really
man, him and Steve Francis to me, was like just when these guards were just dunking, these under 6'2", 6'3" guys were just had hops.
And he carried like a roster of dudes that I'm like, bro, you wouldn't wish these dudes on your worst enemy. Like Ricky Davis was a head case, but he would.
I think Mashburn was there too. If I'm not mistaken.
I want to say Mash was there too, man. It was, but like it was the only problem with this roster for me was they were so injury prone. Like it was just constantly like we never just had that full healthy season where like we could get a run together. But man, Baron Davis put on a show, man. We used to go. This is when teams they were giving up on the Hornets here, and they knew that they knew the clock was ticking. They were going to basically let the team go, and so they had put a referendum out where it's like we're going to vote for if the city people in the city want to vote for a new arena, which they knew wouldn't pass, and so no one wanted to take responsibility for building that new arena.
Yeah.
So what was funny about this is that Baron Davis was here and clearly like all-star form and all this stuff, but we were, kind of just going through a season where we knew it was coming to an end. And me and my wife, we used to go on, I think it was called CharlotteHalfOff.com, and we would get tickets to every home game, and it would be buy one, get one free. And we had like our own little section that we would knew like we would get our tickets right where the nacho lady was, because they had this day, hands down, best nachos I ever had in my life. Was
wow, that's crazy. Wow. You usually don't hear that from arena like food. It's just like, all right, it's kind of like going to 7-Eleven.
Because it wasn't the arena nachos. It wasn't those. It was this one cart with these black ladies at it. And they made the hell out of some, boy, when I tell you finger licking good, I mean, it was worth it for the nachos, to be honest. Like the game was secondary. But yeah, I remember at one point though, it got so bitter with that roster. You know how they do like giveaways and stuff when you come in the arena.
Absolutely, yeah, promotional stuff, yeah. First 10,000 people.
We knew that they were going to New Orleans. This nigga gave out beads for one of the like the Mardi Gras beads.
Beads, wow. So it's like, yeah, so yeah, if you want to enjoy them, go down there.
Bruh, it got so bitter between George Shen and the Charlotte fan base, man. It was ugly that last year. I hate that Baron Davis even had to deal with that, because he was such a cool dude. I played ball with him once too. Me, my brother, and my friend Sport. We used to go play ball with these like car salesman dudes, like these older cat black dudes, on Sundays at Caramel Middle School. And because we were a bit younger than them, we would routinely come in there and get a couple. We run them sometimes. It's like we all in our prime. We 25. And they, they was a little older than us. And so one day we come in there, man, and this is after Baron Davis's rookie year. So I don't know if you remember, but like rookie year, he was like clean shaven, no hair.
And he didn't play that much. I was looking up his numbers his rookie years. He played average like 5 points a game. So
so I want to say it was either the year after his rookie year or the year after that, right? So he comes in the gym. And yeah, it was a year after his second year. So he comes in the gym. This mug has a full beard. So we don't recognize him. You know what I'm saying? So he comes over to us while we're stretching, getting ready to play. And he comes over and goes, "What's up, y'all?" And I'm like, "What's up, man?" And he was like, it's a gym full of mostly strangers.
Yeah, you don't know anybody. Everybody.
No one introduces themselves. So he comes over and daps us up. He's like, what's y'all he said, "What's y'all name?" I was like, "Rod." He's like, "My name Baron." I was like, "All right then, like we'll see." so they make a big deal about like normally they would fight us and try to break our team up, but this week they were like, "Y'all can play with y'all team together, but we just want Baron." And it was like, all right, like we gonna run his ass too.
That's hilarious.
The first play of the game, he my boy Sport, who's real nice, played college ball and everything. He does the I don't know if you remember the Sham God dribble.
Absolutely, yeah. Sham God, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Flip it out there, they reach for it, you pull it back, cross them over, right?
Yeah, that's when like street ball was big. I think at one point around that 2000 between 2000 and 2003, I think street ball was better than the NBA. That's why I saw Baron at Rucker Park, and it was like, it was phenomenal. Yeah.
Bruh, he tried that Sham God on Baron. He flipped it out there. Baron Davis, no lie, grabbed the ball with two hands, like in the middle of the dribble. You know what I'm saying? So like Sport is trying to pull the ball back and he can't yank it, and Baron is just holding it like this. and then Baron pulls it back, and Sport stumbles backwards because he's pulling with all his momentum the other way. He stumbles backwards. Baron goes down the court, throws an alley to himself off the glass, and 360 dunked that shit. And at that moment, me and my brother Sport all went, "That's Baron Davis." Like, oh, that's why he said he was Baron. Okay, this makes a lot more sense. And
That's why they wanted him on the team.
yeah, bro, we didn't win a game that week. And what was funny though is I spent so much effort playing hard as hell trying to avoid letting him look stupid that after we played them a couple of times, he came over to me and was like, "Hey man, you got some good moves, big man." And I was like, "I got some good moves. I got some good moves." I said, "Bro, I ain't trying to be on your dick or nothing, but I have a poster of you dunking on KG in my dorm right now." So like, you know, that was before cell phone selfies and shit. But I would have
absolutely, yeah.
He beat our ass for 2 weeks, and he had a bad
2 weeks straight. Wow, that is hilarious, man. So you got to play Baron Davis when you didn't even know.
Bruh, he put the smackdown on us, man. He was blocking our shit off the glass, like we like he blocked it so high. You just be like, I think it's goaltending, but I mean, can you even call that when somebody jumps out the gym? You just have to like that's an act of God. That's an act of God.
Wow, man. That is funny. So those times must have been fun, but it didn't get funner after the 2001-2002 season when they officially relocate to New Orleans. So 01-02 is their final season in Charlotte. Now that they relocate, did you still follow the Hornets? Were you a New Orleans Hornets fan, or you were like, this kind of sucks because they left?
Yeah, not really. You know, it was once they were New Orleans Hornets, man, it just hurt. You know what I mean? I still have a soft spot in my heart to this day for Seattle. I still like Seattle should get the Supersonics back, man, because you know, I mean, shout out to Oklahoma City or whoever, but if we ever expand the league again, Seattle got to come back because nothing hurts like losing that team that you love. And you know, in a weird way, I'll never not be thankful to the Hornets we have now because of that experience, man. Like going from an identity with a sports team to having none, it fucking sucks, man. You watch TV and then like I couldn't watch the Hornets games. I wasn't rooting against them because you know I like those dudes, but you watch the Hornets games and the whole time you just thinking to yourself, that's our team.
Yeah, different like time zone. It's like what, like an hour away. Or is it like, different? Like everything is like, oh my God, I can't even watch them because they play in New Orleans now. So
they shouldn't even be named that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't even call them
exactly. That was crazy. So yeah. So fast forward, I guess, to 3 years later, Charlotte is awarded an expansion franchise. Who the owner is now the owner of BET, Bob Johnson. And the nickname as the Bobcats was rumored was named after him or whatever. So how did you feel? Did you gravitate to the Bobcats right away or be like, I don't know?
I was in right away. Now a lot of the fan base was bitter because you gotta like what a lot of people don't know is in order to get the Bobcats, they did the same thing, referendum, because they want a new arena, right?
Yes.
Because at this point, that Hornets arena is probably 20 years old or something, like 80.
It was like 14, 15.
So 14, 15 years old. And then you're coming in like 2001 or 2002 going, okay, we're gonna get this team. And so they did another referendum and they lost. So we were not supposed to get a new arena. But the city council basically went around everybody and was like, nah, we still don't. And so that's how we ended up with the Bobcats. And I was happy because not having a team for a long time, feeling like George Shinn did us dirty. He did us so dirty, man. He lied on the attendance numbers on his way out. He lied on the profitability on the way out. At that time, I believe he had a deal where he even got all the parking from the games. The city rented the parking lot to him for $1, and he would get all the money. And he still said he didn't make money. So it was such a bitter time, and I think it really soured people on the NBA. So they didn't support the Bobcats when they got here, but I definitely did.
Oh, that's cool because I mean it's like usually, and it was just how did you feel about it's an expansion team, so you got guys who are like just castaways from other teams like Primoz Brezic and other guys. But how did you gravitate? I guess the look, because I those uniforms and those colors weren't exactly as marketable as the original Hornets colors.
Nah, that orange was super whack. I still got some of it though, but that orange was just it was whack, dude. It was just not it was not a good time. It wasn't, especially because you comparing it to the Hornets. So
Mm-hmm.
you got this other team playing with the iconic colors and all the stuff that you grew up with, and,
Yeah.
and they play you 2 to 4 times a year, and then you got your
Yeah.
team coming in here in
Mm-hmm.
this bright orange. Looking ugly, man. I mean, I still went to the games. I had a great time. I still have a soft spot in my heart for Gerald Wallace for the rest of my life. But
Absolutely.
good,
Absolutely.
man.
He's one of the original Bobcats. Yeah, he was great, man.
Yeah, dude, we were just not good though.
Yeah. So like things get better like the year I think they move into the new arena the year after or 2 years after.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Michael Jordan becomes a minority order. So how did you feel about Jordan coming over as a minority order owner after he gets screwed? Because remember with the Washington Wizards, part of him coming back to play for the Wizards is he thought he was going to get ownership, but it just didn't work out in Washington. So now he has a chance to redeem himself. In Charlotte, with the Charlotte franchise. How did you feel about that when Jordan came over?
I mean, it didn't really matter at first because he was just a minority owner, and like occasionally he would show up at a game, maybe do an interview on the radio or something. But it wasn't like any major thing. You know, he's a son of North Carolina and a son of the Tar Heels, so of course we were excited. But this was after his stint with the Wizards, so it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that the excitement. What like he had done this, everything about the Bobcats had been done before.
Uh-huh.
So this was no longer the newness of our first time around. Attendance didn't go back to sellouts. After it
Mm-hmm.
was immediately like skepticism with every move.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah. And then the first 5 seasons they weren't really great. A lot of a lot of losing. Even one
And
point, I mean,
we just had bad draft luck too.
yeah,
Like we in the Dwight Howard draft, we get Emeka
like I'm
Okafor.
Okafor. Was he decent with you guys? He was decent, right?
Yeah, he won Rookie of the Year. But
Yeah.
the point being, like every time that there was like what we need here is a star, we would end up with the almost like we get the pick after the stars are gone. Raymond Felton, who I think Raymond Felton was a really good, consistent player, but it was like the same draft as like I want to say Chris Paul was in that draft or something. It looks like that draft was
Yeah,
like
come on, yeah.
stud Raymond Felton.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sad.
Yeah, I think Paul and Darren Williams went before Felton, if I remember.
Yeah,
if my memory
dude.
serves me
Like,
correctly.
and it wasn't like a bad pick or the wrong pick. It just that was like it was just that was the pick, and that's all we had left at the time. It just sucked.
Yeah. I think I remember, wasn't Sean May, who just came from North Carolina, title with Felton, he was a pick too, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, he was at number 13 that we picked him.
Yeah.
To this day, people hate that pick, but I always go back and look at those drafts because this is what fans do. They always hate the pick. Go back and look at the drafts. The people after that are not stars.
Yeah. It usually happens that some players bottom out.
Yeah, like you basically got to go like to, if you have to move down 5 or 6 picks before you find another good player in that draft, then you did the right thing because everybody was guessing at that point.
Yeah. One point, I think Adam Morrison was a pick too, right? Yeah.
Oh, man. Jesus Christ, dude. What a size. And I still say to this day, Adam Morrison got a raw deal. Because if you knew how he played in college, where he's the focal point of the offense, nothing about his game said he can get in where he fits in. You got to run plays for that dude.
Yeah.
And I want to say our coach, I can't remember who our coach was, maybe Salas. I don't remember who our coach was at the time, but they clearly were like, we're not running no plays for this dude. So
yeah.
He's a rookie. He needed, if he can ball, he gonna have to show us he can ball, and he couldn't get it done.
Yeah. The comeback year, I guess the first winning big season was 2009, 2010 when they win 44 games. They make the playoffs under Larry Brown. And like you said, you got Gerald Wallace, Steven Jackson, Felton, Boris Diaw, and they they get to the playoffs, man, and losing the first round. But how did you feel about that team? I guess finally winning, with a winning track,
I mean, like we were getting kind of, getting back on track, but there weren't any exciting players on that team. I was a big Boris Diaw fan.
Yeah.
Like still one of my favorite players of all time. I love me a fat dude that can ball. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's best. Like best of both worlds, man.
He was so versatile too. I think it was, he could play two guard and power forward. He was big. You know what I'm saying?
He could handle the rock. He could pass. And he can shoot a little bit, I just really like that dude, but not a star or anything, nothing that was gonna make people watch a game. So, we kind of were stuck, man. Gerald Wallace never learned how to shoot. Like we just were a limited squad, but I think we got the most out of that team, but that was as far as we were gonna ever get.
Yeah, and then March 2010. I mean, during that season, Michael Jordan becomes a majority owner. So now he's running things. He's the guy that owns the team. So how did you feel about him having full stake or majority stake in the Bobcats?
I'm always been a huge Michael Jordan as an owner fan. I know that makes me an outlier, but this is the problem with having an owner as famous as Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
people want to make everything his decision, and
that's true.
It is always
any draft pick. It's like, oh, why'd you do that, Michael?
It has always bothered me that people want it both ways. They say Michael Jordan is lazy. He's hands off. He doesn't care about the team or the day-to-day operations. When he was the general manager / minority owner, he never did a shit. Blah blah blah. Okay, cool. Then every time we make a draft pick, Michael Jordan made that terrible draft pick. What? I thought you said he doesn't do anything. Like, is your theory that he doesn't care about basketball at all, but then on draft day shows up and goes, forget everything, all the work y'all did. I'm picking Adam Morrison. That's not how that works. And some of the people that we hire, like Rich Show and stuff, these are not people that just bend over for the ownership. Like, they come here with a plan and a strategy. Just because they missed on the picks or they didn't get it done, that's not Michael Jordan's fault. But that was my only problem with having Michael Jordan as an owner, because I'm a big supporter of him. But it was people are so jaded against the dude that it's almost like they want him to fail. Like Bob Johnson used the Bobcats to try to launch his local television station. Like, that was a big thing. He had his own television station, and he would put the Bobcats games on that station.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was kind of like he used the Hornets to launch his own thing.
He had his own agenda, basically.
Right. Michael Jordan didn't do any of that stuff. People would say Bob Johnson was notoriously cheap. Then they would try to blame Michael Jordan for cheapness. It's like Michael Jordan's not the one that's being cheap. Like, he's spending money on players and everything. So I'm a big fan of Michael Jordan, and I think the team we have now is due in large part to him being like, let me hire competent people to get us some young and upcoming players, and we've been knocking these draft picks out the park.
Yeah, it's been great now. But I'll go back to after Michael Jordan becomes majority owner, and they're coming off their playoff season. It goes back down. I remember the lockout season in 2011, 2012. They only won 7 games, and that's Kemba Walker's rookie year. So how did you feel about I guess Kemba Walker in the beginning? And would you consider, I guess, Kemba Walker the best player in Charlotte history, like as far as stats?
Yeah, it's not even close. I mean, he might not be the most iconic. We got Muggsy, you got LJ, Dale Curry.
Dale Curry, absolutely.
I can't believe I haven't mentioned yet, but so you got some people that people will always look at as, especially because I think he came in as a Bobcat.
He did come in as a Bobcat. Yeah. Yep.
So like, he didn't even get to like come in as a Hornet and leave a Hornet, which is just unfortunate for him. But no, I mean, when we drafted Kemba, I was like, I guess, you know what I mean? Because I saw him. I say he's a short point guard that shoots a lot. That's not my favorite type of point guard. Really, I like pass first guys.
Passers, yeah.
But man, let me tell you, when you get to see him in person, when you get to see him play, and like the life that he adds to the team, and the consummate professional that he is on and off the court, Yo, that's that dude. Once again, another one of those, like, he'll be straight with me forever because
Yeah.
he loved the city. Because normally when we get guys at like all-star level talent, they start being on some like looking out, like looking out the window, like, who want me?
Yeah.
And I always feel like he got a raw deal last year because to me, I would have rather had Kemba on the team and paid him. And that probably does, stifle our younger players, and it probably does hold us back somewhat, which I readily admit that might not be the smart move. Jordan probably made the smart move letting him go. But it just felt like the right thing to do was go ahead and pay that dude and get him to stay there just because he was so good for the city. But at the same time, I'm happy for him because going to Boston means he'll probably get a shot at a title that he would never get here.
Yeah, that is so true. So, after Kemba's rookie season, and on May 21st, 2013 was the big news. Jordan announced that the organization submitted an application to get the Hornets name back after New Orleans wanted to change their name to the Pelicans. They didn't. They said Hornets wasn't synonymous with the city of New Orleans, and then they wanted the Pelican, the state bird or whatever. So the Hornets name was open, and they voted, and you eventually got it. How did you feel about that coming to fruition and the Hornets, like, basically getting their name back? Not only their name, but like, because the history of the Bobcats stayed in Charlotte, so they're all tied together, and it's pretty good that, all that history is now connected.
Yeah, man. Honestly, one of the happiest days as a Hornets fan was getting the name back. It just nothing felt right as Bobcats. Like I said, I still have a couple of Bobcats towels and hats and stuff around here, but
it might be collector's items.
Right. They might be, dog, but it was just one of those times, like a couple of bobbleheads and stuff, but it never felt right. I used to play NBA 2K and play with the Bobcats. It just didn't. Nothing about it felt right. So I'm really glad we got the name back just because it feels right and it feels like this is how it was meant to be and how it should stay. The only people I feel bad for are the Pelicans fans. I feel like they should have got Jazz back. Like when they changed.
Yeah, I did feel like that. Brandon Pearson says Bobcat uniforms were horrible, by the way. Yeah, they were.
Horrible. The worst orange creamsicle uniform. Like, I don't think there was a worse uniform in the league when we had those uniforms. And I know we tried to switch to the off colors a couple years into it where we started going with the blue.
I remember that.
But it wasn't bro, the Hornets colors can't be beat.
Yeah. And then you were saying before the Jazz. Yeah, that was a weird because I always thought the Jazz should stay. I thought Utah should have got it. Like they should have been, the NBA should have stepped in. Like, you can't have that name. It doesn't fit you. So Utah Jazz is so weird.
So weird, dude. I listened to the episode you had with JL Covan, and, where I think he was either you or him that suggested Saints.
Yeah, that was a good. Yeah, I think JL definitely considered. Yeah, that was a better. Yeah, that'd be a better fit for them.
Utah Saints make so much more sense. Give that Jazz name back.
So that was a big deal, and and the 2013, the season after that, they got the final season of Bobcats 2013-14 is Steve Clippers the coach. They win 43 games, and that's the final season of the Bobcats name. And they go to the playoffs. They get swept by Miami in the first round. But how did you feel about that season? It's like another winning season. Not a lot of wins, but enough wins to get into the playoffs. And Kemba's leading the way. How did you feel about that season?
I mean, good. I mean, like at this point, that's about what we were capable of. Like that, like everything you described from the return of the Bobcats to the beginning of the Hornets has been a good year for us. Is going to the first round and probably getting swept.
Yeah, because they never made it past the semifinals.
And we haven't had star power since. Like we haven't had that LJ Lonzo. Like, okay, we got us some haymakers. We got us some guys that if on the next dream team, we expect two of our guys to be on there. We haven't had that since. So everything you describing since then, like, some cute moments, you know what I mean? Like, we've had some players come through that have been kind of like, oh yeah, they're a pretty good player, but nobody that made me feel like we should be beating Miami in the first round, or we should be getting the, instead of the a bottom 4 seed, we should get a top 4 seed. So it's just kind of been limbo since then.
Yeah, and then then the Hornets name is official after that season, and then 2016 they make the playoffs, and Kemba's an all-star. That's when he's elevated. His game is elevated, and I guess talk about that season, how the first season under the new Hornets that they made the playoffs and had a winning record.
I mean, it was cool. Like I said, it's just not the same excitement as before. It was just cool, really, because the expectation was going out in the first round. So I think for us, this is what people don't realize about the Hornets fan base. We're a very loyal, committed fan base, but after the George Shinn era and what happened with the team with the Bobcats, we won't see excitement around this team that rivals that until they go to a round outside of where they've been. Mm-hmm. Then when they start having success in a way that we're like, oh, we haven't seen this before, or oh, this feels like Zoe and LJ, then we'll see that enthusiasm return. Until then, it's just gonna be, the hardcore basketball fans that want to go downtown and see a game. So and we got the new arena and stuff, which is dope, but we really do need to win, and not just win like 48 games, but win and make some noise.
Yeah. Because now you 2019, you just shared your thoughts about Kemba leaving and how he got his money. But 2020, you had the draft. Now you got LaMelo Ball, which is, I think, a big deal. I mean, he got to play overseas. Like, it's not like he went to college and played with, players that were at his, he's playing with grown men, sort of, if you know what I mean, and just and playing in Europe and probably learning a style that's a little bit different. What's your thoughts on LaMelo Ball, and is he the guy that could possibly change, improve the team?
I mean, I hope so, but let me just step back one more year and say, just this year that just passed before the pandemic, I mean, our team is on the come up. You got Devontae Graham, who should have won.
Oh, man, yeah.
Most improved player. I cannot believe he didn't win most improved player. Honestly, one of the big scams in the NBA is that he didn't win most improved player. That's ridiculous, honestly.
Yeah.
As soon, that was one of those times where as soon as the votes were in at the players thing they do, everybody was like, what?
I thought he was going to win too.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense. PJ Washington, who was the 12th pick.
Oh man, he's good too. Yeah,
legitimately has a future. I don't want to make it too big, but the dude can shoot from outside, solid inside, rebound, can jump out the gym. Miles Bridges won the NBA Rookie All-Star MVP that game at the
I remember. Yeah,
another dude, young, putting it together. Jump out the gym, explosive. Terry Rozier was a good signing.
That was a good one too. Yeah.
Went way better than people thought it was going to go. Led the league 3-point percentage whenever he was staying still, spot up threes. Then you get LaMelo Ball, who for me personally, he was my number one person I wanted in this draft. So
yeah,
we never get this kind of luck. Normally, the person I want.
It was kind of I guess, I remember seeing the Hornets. They had Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who, for a number 2, number 3 pick, just never lived. He was consistent, but never great. You know what I'm saying? I never remember him having a breakout year. He didn't suck, but he was just good enough. Well,
he couldn't shoot, and he wasn't explosive at the rim. And for a guy that size, man, you got to be able to do something good. And the one thing he could kind of do good was defense. But when your team is trash, you trying to lock down LeBron James is impossible. That's not a one. So, I remember one night, man, I watched this dude get roasted by Carmelo Anthony for 50 points, and it was.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. To the point where you're just bruh, whatever reputation you had as a defender, tonight is over. That ended. So
it's funny because the Knicks just signed Michael Kidd Gilchrist, and then somebody's like, "Oh, he's a great defensive addition," and then somebody post up the time. It's like, oh, really?
Because it wasn't just that Melo, it wasn't just that Melo rocked him, like he rocked him and like he shot like 65%. You know, like one of them like, oh, get out the gym type of moments, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think now I feel very optimistic about the team. I love that we don't miss on draft picks. That's huge. Even people like Malik Monk, who apparently
I like Malik. I do like Malik. Yeah, he's good.
He was suspended because of some drug shit.
Drug shit, yeah.
but like good player, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and now you got Gordon Hayward too. I don't know, you know, he's still injury prone, but how do you feel about that? I mean, kind of like, all right, you're like, all right, it might work. We'll see.
Well, I have a lot of reasons I like the pick. I like trading for Gordon, but the first thing I want to push back on, he's not injury prone. Like John Wall is injury prone.
Well, you know, yeah, I take that back. I mean, he had that one fatal, like it was a bad injury they put him out. So yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, that's not a right thing to say.
Like, isn't it weird that we don't call Paul George injury prone, but people call Paul George injury prone? I'm like, they had the same crucial
injury, yeah.
but I do feel people, because once you see something like that, you can't unsee it.
Yeah, that's true.
Livingston that had that knee injury, I think.
Randy Livingston, yeah, I remember he had played bounced around for a couple of teams.
Like, seeing like his injury to his knee.
Sean Livingston, I said Randy. I'm sorry, Sean Livingston.
For the rest of my life, I thought that dude knee was gonna explode every time he jumped. So I do understand what people are saying, but yeah, I love the Hayward pick, man, because one, he's competent. That's the number one thing this young team needs. They need people that can do shit. Like right now, we have like sometimes you kick it out to a dude and you like, what can he do from that point? You know what I mean? Gordon Hayward, you like, okay, he can put the ball on the ground, he can hit the spot up. Two, he was playing on a roster where they had 3 dudes playing wing, and all 3 of them are essentially ISO dudes: Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Gordon Hayward. You can't coexist on the same roster, man. Somebody's gonna always be the odd man out.
Yeah.
So he'll be
they
fine.
All want the ball. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a wing, so he'll be fine here, dude. I think it'll be cool. And then also the people were trying to talk about the money they paid him. It's not a lot of money. It's like
remember that the NBA, once they got that TV deal, you can sign. I remember the Knicks signed Tim Hardaway to like $78 million. You're like, what are you doing? But that's chump change now compared to like because they can get that money.
I went and looked it up, and this is before LeBron and before AD resigned. He at that point he would have been the 30th highest paid player in the league. What's wrong with that? That's about right. Like, you know, like if you told me Gordon Hayward makes the 30th, he's the 32nd highest paid player in the league, I'd be like, that's about right. And then also for him to be on the Hornets, where we have never had a free agent who wanted to come here.
That's true. It hasn't been a destination, you're
a Knicks fan, right? So you know the feeling too, where it's like, wait, he want to come here?
Yeah,
we need to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because that pump fake stuff that they do with teams like ours, where it's like, hey, they're saying so and so might come to the Knicks, but really we know like, oh, he's just using us as leverage.
Yeah,
he's gonna get the bid up and he's gonna go somewhere else. It was dope to be able to say a guy goes, no, I want to go to Charlotte. If y'all sign me, I'll go. So I'm very excited about our team right now.
The Russell Westbrook rumors were running rampant too for a little bit. I think they had 2 destinations were either New York or Charlotte. So that was another one I remember hearing.
Yeah, man, which is weird because he ended up in like Washington.
Yeah, him and John Wall.
Which is funny, right? Because Russ make like $40 million a year.
Yeah.
So like people was going like, y'all got Hayward. I'm like, but if we would have got Westbrook, that's $40 million a year. Like, how's that a better deal, dude? Just but I mean, I like Rusty's game too. I think the pendulum swung too far on him to the negative, and now people are saying stuff about Westbrook that is not really fair. This dude was
I know. Like as a Knicks fan, I didn't really want. Not saying because I actually love Russ. I actually love his attitude. He's a psycho guy, but he's a psycho you love to have around. But I understand as far as the finances and the money. I understand like if you don't want to invest that money in it, I was cool with that.
The problem with Russ is if you put him on a sorry team, he's gonna take you to the playoffs every year.
Yeah,
That's the only,
that's true.
that's the only problem. He plays so hard. You won't ever win a championship, but you will never be bad enough to get some better picks to add around him. So you know, and of course, you know, the way he plays, I'm sure everybody has the same concern, which is, can you play like that forever?
Ever, yeah. And it just didn't work out in Houston, unfortunately.
Yeah, because like Gordon Hayward's game, he got an old man game now.
Yeah.
You know, like that,
and in Utah, he was great. He was like, oh man, that's the guy. You know, and Utah doesn't get that much exposure, so he's like, oh, who's this Gordon Hayward guy? He's like,
it's like that. It's like Paul Pierce's game where you like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, we won't know it's over for Gordon Hayward until we start looking at the stat sheet and being like, wait, he only had 8 points. Like, cause the game looked the same when he killing or when he playing bad. It all set shots, layups. You know what I mean? Pick and pop, stuff like that.
Wow. All right, man. Yo, this was fun, man. Thanks a lot for coming on. I appreciate you coming on, Rod, and sharing your Hornets memories and predictions and stuff, man. Anything you want to plug before we go?
Oh man, just check out our podcast, The Black Guy Who Tips. You can find it on Spotify exclusively. So check us out there. I'm sure there's a bunch of sorry Hornets players I left off of the list. I could have gone on here for another 30 minutes of just all the misses we've had.
I know.
The Lance Stevenson era, the Stack Jack era. You know,
so many players.
So many names, dog. So many names. So, but nah, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. Nobody ever asked me to come on and talk about sports.
Nah, it's always a pleasure, my brother. Anytime, man.
Dope, man. Keep doing what you do.
Thank you. You too, my brother. Thanks for being on, man. I'll see you later.
Yes, sir. Peace.
All right, guys, that was Rod Morrow. Follow him on his social medias. Listen to The Black Guy Who Tips, which is a great podcast. Follow us at Root for Laundry on IG and Twitter. And tune in next week where I have another guest and another team. My name is Johnny McDonald. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.